Oh, yes, we are live. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Good morning, coaches. How are you this morning? I want to invite you, and I'm so excited to be here. And I wanted to just introduce to you that this is our first first interview today for Confidence Conversations. And we are interviewing an expert in the networking field, Cynthia Spirlin. Cynthia loves connecting with people online at the bank, chatting with cashiers at the grocery store, and networking at chamber meetings. She never meets a stranger, which is what I love about Cynthia. But networking was not always easy because Cynthia was very shy. When neighborhood friends knocked on the door and asked to play, she asked her mother to say she couldn't play. So naturally, her mother set out to transform her into an extrovert. Like the meals her mother made with love, the lessons that changed her were infused with love, thanks to her mother. Cynthia's confidence grew and her communication skills grew year after year, from joining the Girl Scouts and becoming involved in student government to the debate team. Communication became her superpower, which she led to others as a negotiator for the Department of Defense, mediator for the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, and she published a digital magazine for entrepreneurs called Mingle 702. Best of all, Cynthia wanted to help share networking skills with other entrepreneurs and developed a program to help create a sustainable business with a steady stream of warm referrals. Cynthia's signature program, Quantum Networking, will transform your networking into your net worth. For fun, Cynthia loves meditation, Pilates, golf, and spending quality time with her family. And we will leave you a link at the end where you can network with Cynthia also. But I just wanted to add one more thing, that Cynthia has worked in the real estate industry for 20 years. And as a seasoned investor, she is passionate about helping women create wealth through real estate. As a single parent, she understands the need to provide for today and the desire to leave a legacy. And she wants everyone to know about this path to wealth because it is accessible to everyone, regardless of credit or cash revenues. And I just wanted to add that piece because that is a big background of yours. And so welcome, Cynthia. How are you this morning?
I am doing great, and I'm so glad to be here with you. I appreciate the invitation to share with others how to network at the highest level.
Yes, and that is so important because we met networking, and so
yeah, we sure did. Yeah, that's right. Years ago.
For 6 years? It's got
to be. Yeah, I can't believe it. You're right. No, I think it was longer, but still, it was a while ago.
Yes.
That's amazing. We met at a BNI type of networking meeting, and we kept in touch across the miles, across the years. It's amazing.
I know. And we've both been in many states so far. So it's, this is the purpose, one of the purposes of networking. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about networking?
The biggest misconception about networking that really gives it a kind of a bad conception is people think it's to generate leads. So they go in there going, okay, I'm going to go to this networking event. I need a new client. I need 5 clients. And so in their mind, their intention is that they're going to get something, and so then they end up just passing their business cards around and not really making a connection. So that's the biggest misconception. It's not about what you're going to get. It's about showing the value that you have, and then people being attracted to you, to asking more questions and wanting more information, but not for lead generation at all.
And I think that's very true. It's there is that misconception that you're going there just to switch business cards, and it's so not what you should be doing at a networking.
Right, exactly. So sometimes I've been networking, oh my gosh, 10 years ago we met. And before that, I've gotten jobs through networking. So at first it wasn't my plan to be an entrepreneur and the necessity to have these skills. But my mother knew that if I didn't have them, I wouldn't succeed, because even though I was a great student and I loved to read and all of those things, my parents said, that's not enough. the C student will run circles around you, because when you get to work in that environment, it's about the connections you make to get the promotion. So, and I found that to be true, because when I first went into the workforce, I would just do very diligent, and people would, and I'm really outgoing on the recess, on the playground, but when we're in the classroom, don't talk to me. When we're at work, we're at the coffee machine, we can talk. When I'm at my desk, we can't talk. So people would come, I worked for the government, right? So that they're on a break 7 hours a day.
Yes.
So it's a real problem, because I'm really diligent. I love my job, and I was just, doing reports and writing different things. And someone would come to my cubicle and they'd say, hey, what are you doing? Working. And they would want to talk. So I was like, wow, this is really crazy. But the networking is so important, because people would get promoted and you're sitting there doing a great job. And the people that aren't doing the work, they're getting just as much accolades as you are. So it evens the score. So it didn't matter how smart you were if you couldn't communicate. And I really found that to be true, what my mom taught me. So I started trusting that more and employing the skills more. And I got a really fantastic job when I was in law school. I met another student from a different university. And I said, what are you doing this summer? We talked about it for a bit. And then I said, well, if you hear of anything, let me know. OMG, I got a call like 2-3 weeks later. I had almost forgotten about the call. And he said, hey, Cynthia, are you still looking for a job? I said, yes. He said, okay, call this guy right now. They are starting on Monday. You can start on Monday.
Oh my gosh. And that's the thing about networking, because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're, having a conversation with. And if you're not building the relationship, it's going to be, you're not going to get opportunities open up like that. So how can the listeners get more out of networking when they're out there?
Well, when you encounter someone, be prepared to ask questions. So you want to find out as much about that person, what they're doing, what their needs are, what's the biggest challenge in their business is a great question, because then you say, how can I be a resource for this person? And if you can't, then it's not a good connection. So you shouldn't exchange business cards or ask for theirs. It's no hurt feelings if you don't ask for the business card. It's really like, woo, that's good. We're not a match, and it's okay. But if they're able to provide a resource for them, then definitely you want to make that connection and ask for the business card. So that's the key thing, asking questions more than you're talking. If you find yourself looking at a person and they're just standing there and they can't even get a word in edgewise, then you go slow down and flip it and say, oh, what's your biggest challenge, and get them to start talking. And so before you even go to the networking event, you really want to have it in mind who you would like to meet. So you're going there kind of like fishing for your ideal person. For example, your ideal client, you have that person in mind. So if you meet someone and they're telling you, this is my challenge, you're like, oh, I can help you with that, but don't help them in that moment. Say, I have some solutions for that. If you want, we could do a one-on-one coffee. When the person says yes, then you exchange information. On the other hand, you want to have a different person in mind, a profile of your ideal power partner. So say, for example, you're a realtor. Ideal partner would be someone in the repair business for a home, like a plumber, electrician, a contractor, a housekeeper, a mortgage person, because without money, there's no home sales. So you want to make those kind of connections. So then if you went to a networking event as a realtor, you wouldn't go around saying, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor. Do you have a house to sell? Do you know someone that has a house to sell? No, sometimes you'll know in advance, like BNI, when you're invited to a BNI, you know who is who. They have 2 realtors in the group, or they have an insurance person or whatever. So go there. If you have that opportunity to know in advance, research the person before you get there, spy on them on LinkedIn or their Facebook page, not stalking. Don't go down into the history 3 years ago or anything, but
Right.
just get an idea of the person and what they're doing now, where their mind's at now. So you can have an idea, is this the type of person you would want to connect with? And so then you reach out to that person and ask them different questions. Don't start off with what's your biggest challenge. Make that like the second question or third question.
Right.
And then if it makes sense, exchange business cards, but be prepared. So this is essential. Okay, bring value and don't go there to network. So when you know who your target market is, kind of read a little bit in your industry before you go to the meeting. So that way you can say, oh, have you read this fact that's new, trending in the industry or whatever? So then people say, gosh, she is always on top of this industry. She's the go-to gal, right?
I love it. I love that, because we should know some of the stats that our industry is all about and what's happening right now, because other people are either going to know, and they might turn around and ask you, and then you'll be like, oh no, I didn't hear that. But if you bring up that topic, then you're going to look like that expert.
Right. That is really, really critical. And it's key because you're not asking for anything you're setting up that law of reciprocity. Pointing to the quantum part of this is that giving first. So it doesn't have to be you're buying their product necessarily or their services, but you have identified and set yourself apart as a person of value, and you've given them information that they could use in their business of that industry, right? So automatically you have invoked the law of reciprocity, where they're like, well, how can I help this person? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I know. And that's the exciting part about networking. It's not just all business and, it's building that trust, that factor, giving out and serving people. I always talk about serving people in some way. So no matter what it is that you're serving them with, as long as it has to do with helping them, that's the great thing. And so I know there is an art of networking. Can you describe that for the listeners?
Well, the art part is the unseen, obvious part of it. Obviously you want to do the pre-planning and choose the right networking event and have the right tools like your digital business card and your phone or something of that nature. So that part of it is just the science of it. And the art of it is hearing things that aren't necessarily spoken. So going in with the listening ear, we have 2 ears, hear more than you talk. Yes. And so if you really are actively listening, you'll hear something. And sometimes it's something that's unspoken, but because of your knowledge in your industry and you being an expert, then you can hear what's not being said. And also the tone of voice. If someone's nervous, you could say, oh, have you been to this event before? So you can kind of bring in emotional connection. Well, let me introduce you to someone else at this event. I think you'd be a good match for. So you can do that. But it's really that reciprocity of giving. So you want to use the law of attraction before you go to the event. You want to do a meditation where you can set your energy and ground yourself so you don't come off as frantic energy and the person's like, oh my gosh, give yourself time. So when you go to the event, you're not going in there running like, oh, I just left my baby crying at the daycare. Don't go there. Meditate, ground yourself before you go in there so your energy is attractive. So it's those non-visual things that people pick up on. And then sometimes if your frequency isn't right, like the other thing when you meditate, open up your heart chakra so that energy will expand around you and infuse into the room, your space you're going into. So that way, if it's not, it's like the radio band when you're at 100.1, for example, and you can only hear what's coming in on that frequency. But you want to meet someone that would be, let's say, at 104.5, right? But you won't meet that person because you're not on the same wavelength. And the person, your ideal person, can be in the room, but you won't see them, right? Because you're not on the same frequency with them. So you want the loving vibration, the gratitude is the highest vibration. So before you go in, ground yourself, raise yourself to the highest vibration by expanding on your love chakra, heart energy. And then you'll be more receptive to listen, to care, to attract the right person and see them across the room. Or like, you know what happened to me? I was at this networking event. So I use these principles, right? So I went to this networking event and there were like 5 tables in the room. Where do you sit? And I swear I sit next to the person that's my ideal person, right?
Wow, that's
It's
pretty
really
good.
crazy.
And I
But
think that comes
go
from
ahead.
you grounding yourself and having
Yeah,
that energy you kind of attract. It automatically takes you where you're supposed to go.
exactly. And then don't forget, the law of attraction is only part of the equation. You want to use the law of assumption. So while you're in the meditation and you grounded yourself, you've opened your heart chakra, now you want to take it up and you want to visualize the perfect best outcome for you and everyone in the room.
Yes.
So then you see yourself that you have met the 1 or 2 or 3 ideal people. I mean, depending on the number of people at the event, you want to at least walk away with 3, because you have to remember, when on the science side, how much time of preparation it takes to get to the point where you're in this room. So you don't want to stand on the wall. You don't want to spend too much time talking to people you already know at the event. That is not productive for you to meet the 3 people to carry your business forward. Because the whole idea of all of this is that you want a sustainable business. You want to transform your net worth through your network. So you can really focus on the work that you love if you have a supportive network behind you that says, you know what, Cynthia, Lisa, Jackie would be a great connection for this person, or you know what I mean? So then I can call you, Lisa, and say, I have a client that needs your services. And I know my client really well, and I know you very well. So I know you're a perfect match. Yes. So you want to do those, it's like a 3-part meditation where you ground yourself and calm yourself and get into, like that being magnetic. Right. And so the earth is magnetic. We want to connect with that energy and really pull on our full, time here, and like bringing yourself to the present and that grounding portion. Be here. Don't be with the crying baby at the daycare and whatever else is going on. What do you have to do when you leave here? Oh man, I've got 2 loads of laundry to do tonight. Whatever it is. Yes. Be here.
Yes. Be an active listener and don't be thinking of what you want to, tell about yourself. Just listen while they're talking, just really be listening to them. And so I know there's the art of science networking, but how about the science of networking?
Well, the science part is being prepared. So, for example, how much time do you have to spend networking? So if your time is very limited, you have to think of resources that give you more options. Like, for example, if you have a busy day, like, a lot of demands where you work very strictly on your business, like 8 to 12, and then you have to get the lunch or dinner ready and then get the kids from school. And so where do you have time to network? Well, there's 24-hour networking on LinkedIn. You can go in and find people that are your match. And so you're networking on LinkedIn on your schedule. You can network at 6 in the morning or 10 at night, 2 a.m., but you can make those 5 connections a week or a day and network in that manner. Okay. So that's one way. Virtual networking also is a time saver. There's so many networking options available where you just go online. So if, for example, Alignable is really great with the virtual networking. There's all kinds of groups that meet at different times of the day. They call them quick connects, and you can get in there and meet people. Network after work is another one. They're available on Eventbrite. You can go on Meetup and find different networking events that work for your schedule. So you can network 24/7, no excuses. And then you want to have your tools ready. So if you're networking online, you need to be able to go in when they give you permission to paste your information. So have set aside already, like your IG contact, your this contact and that email, phone number, if you want to share that. And so you put that information in the chat, and you don't have to type it every time. Have it already, like have a sheet of paper in your Google Drive that says, this is my networking information. So you just capture that, and when the time is ready, you post it in there. Also, be prepared with a variety of speeches. So everyone's heard of the oh my goodness, the pitch.
Yes.
Right? So yes. For example, the pitch where you say a 30-second pitch, your 1-minute pitch, but sometimes you're given an opportunity to talk for 3 or even 5 minutes on some of those breakout sessions. So have your message succinctly in at least 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and maybe 3 minutes, and you can embellish the rest. So those are things you have to, it's really about being prepared. Opportunity is when, like that saying goes, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Opportunities when you're prepared, basically. Right. Yeah. So you want to be prepared at all times. You need to have your digital card, even if people still like the handheld cards where the paper card, but to save time, I always have on my phone my digital card so that it can easily go and I can capture their information and I won't lose the card. How many times have you lost the card of someone you want to talk to?
Yes, really. And that's important because when you get those connections, and if they're really somebody that you want to connect with, they have to follow up on some of that, and all of that. You have to follow up. And is there a good time period to follow up with people you've met at a networking?
Well, one of the things you want to have is a CRM, so you can keep track of that. And that's a nice thing about some of these digital cards, because I have one by Popl, it's POPL. And so when I give my digital card to them, it pops up on the screen and asks them information. So then it populates in my CRM there. But you definitely want to have a CRM, and you definitely want to follow up with a person within 48 hours. And then after that would be wait a week. And then after that, see how the response goes and that type of thing.
Okay, and that's awesome to know. And just for some of the listeners, a CRM is our contact relationship management system, which is your email list. Okay, just so you know that. And so is that part of what we were just talking about? Is that how we find the right networking events to go to? Can you add?
No. So you have to think about your business, your industry. So sometimes if you really truly want to meet connections to build your business, like you do part of the job of what the whole entrepreneur needs. Like you might only do taxes, for example, but they're going to need other part, like a business coach or whatever. So you go to industry events where you can meet those type of people, like your associations, like you might do a particular part of like a CPA, like only do arguing or debating or handling things directly with the IRS, but I don't do the everyday taxes. So then I would have a person that I really believe they do the best taxes, and I wouldn't, and they, so that's a good person for me. So associations are really good. Your alumni associations are very good contacts because they have an affinity for you so I graduated from USC and I was living in Las Vegas, but I wanted to build relationships in Los Angeles. So I went in LinkedIn and I pulled out people that had graduated from USC. And I said, hey, I'm relocating to Los Angeles. Is it possible for us to connect? And so everyone didn't say yes, but enough people said yes. So that's the whole thing is being able to make those kind of connections before. You need to know who your ideal person is. Then you can select the right event to go to. And then also your time, do they meet monthly, weekly? So then you pick events where they meet, for example, monthly, or you might like a hybrid where they meet weekly, but three times a month they meet online, and then once a month they meet in person. So look for the right time, the right type of people, and the right location. You don't want to drive too far but if you can serve people across the country, then, of course, virtual is perfect. So, and also when you want to, this is a really neat secret too, if you want to practice your pitch. So practice on these virtual networking events.
Yes.
It's so perfect. So you can go into, like, say you're in California and you don't want to do business in Ohio, for example. You know what I mean? That's not your space. Go and practice, look for events to network virtually with entrepreneurs in Ohio, for example, and you just practice. So then when you're in front of the people that you want to make your best, greatest impression, then when you're in California or wherever you live, and then you can go in there and really shine.
I'm going to use that tip myself. That's a really great idea because a lot of times people feel intimidated by getting started and doing networking and knowing that they have to give their pitch and, they feel uncomfortable. And obviously you're going to get better with practice. So
Yeah.
why not practice on a group of people that you're never going to go do business with? Right.
Right. And what happens if you actually get a client out of that? Wouldn't that be crazy?
And we both, I know, can say that we've been that in that situation where we have. So it's really, really good. And so what things do you need to get the most out of networking?
I think the best thing to do to make the most of your time with networking is to be genuine, be authentic. Because if you're not yourself and you attract the wrong people, it's not going to serve you, because you're going to the connections will eventually fade away, because there really isn't a true connection. So be yourself. You'll find your right match for sure. We're all connected across the world. That's just the nature of the energy. But be yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Go with a heart to serve. Go with a positive attitude. And I think you'll do just fine. Yeah, that's the key thing.
And probably having a consistent message, right? Not like being all over the place with your message and all of that.
Right. And so keep in mind, you are putting on your business persona, but these principles work socially as well. But let's just keep it in the business frame of work. On all of the things that you do, your message needs to be consistent throughout. So whether you're on Facebook, even just the color. So if your color is blue for your business, have all the blue shades. You might not put your business in your Facebook heading, but if they see your picture and that blue in the background, they're going to say, oh yeah, that's the Cynthia, because there's 100,000 Cynthias on Facebook. And so everything needs to be the same coloring, the same font, if possible. Just be consistent throughout the different platforms. So if I prefer to use IG and I find you IG, I'll say, oh yeah, that's Cynthia. And also the picture, I just got a new hairdo and right, I updated my pictures right away because this look is different from the look I had previously. So the picture on Facebook, on LinkedIn, everywhere, I had to go in and change those as well.
And I think that's a really important key. You want an updated picture of what you look like so people can put you to your business, connect you to your business and your colors and your branding and all of that. And so this was wonderful. I mean, thank you so much. I love one of my favorite parts is that you put that whole quantum and that energy and the law of attraction into everything that you do. And that's another way that we have connected over the years because we're both that whole same thing. But I'd love to end with something that I would love to hear. What's something on your bucket list that you are wanting to do that, maybe you might manifest coming years?
Oh, well, travel is a big thing for me. So right now I'm focusing the next 5 years to build my business, being able to be anywhere, accessible to my clients from wherever, because my highest value and priority is to see as much as I can. And I've lived in California, Nevada, Utah, and Georgia and Alabama. You get a different perspective on when you live in a space versus visiting for 3 or 7 days. It's just completely different. So I want to have those experiences where I really find my favorite restaurant. Oh, my daughter was in college in Boston. And so I love Boston, and the food is amazing there. And all the scenery is amazing. The history is there. So just being able to be in a place for more than a vacation period and and work and still see my clients. That's my goal.
I love that. I'll be right there with you and visiting.
All right.
Wherever you go. I actually used to do that with all my traveling OT friends. And so wherever they traveled and stayed, I would go and visit them. So that was awesome. So if anybody wants to connect with you, how can they connect with you? Or is there some links that you can put in the chat? And then I will also grab that and put that in underneath this video so that if anybody wants to reach out to you and connect with you, they can do that.
Yes. So I have placed my information in the chat, my name and my LinkedIn profile. my telephone number and email address for, anyone that wants to contact me and talk more about networking and all of that fun stuff. I'm definitely accessible. And you can find me on Alignable as well. If you're a member of Alignable, I really recommend that. Their networking is a high level, and the connections and the business you can do is they're second behind LinkedIn. But they don't have the restrictions that LinkedIn has. So, they're good at different things. And I would say find me on LinkedIn or Alignable.
Okay, and I love Alignable. I have to actually go in and update my information there, but that gives you all of the local places that you could network, but also extended out as well, right?
Right. It's very local focused. And so the nice thing is they will send you alerts and say, this is someone that you would want to meet. And you can say in the Alignable who your ideal client is. And it's very easy to reach out, and people are very receptive on there. So I found it to be a very fruitful way to network.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that. And so I am so grateful that you came and joined me here. You were one of the first people I thought about when I decided to do some interviews for the coaches. And, it's really all about bringing them some ways that they can gain confidence in creating their business, not only authentically, but energetically. I think this will help them not only gain the confidence, but stay sustainable so that they can grow their business and really do it in the best possible way.
Right, exactly. And if they have any questions about real estate investing, I have a group called Tax Lien Mastermind on Facebook. And so they can invest a small amount for a nice large return with tax lien investing. So I can help them with that too.
Yes, that's on my bucket list. It's there. It's there to work with you on that at one of these points in times. But I know that you have a course on that, or I don't know if you still do, but you did have a course on that, and that is something on my list of things to connect with you maybe by the end of the year. So I thank you so very much, Cynthia Spirlin, and you have been wonderful. And thank you so much. And this is all going to be going on to different places and sharing it with YouTube and my website as well.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me today. I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
All right, we got to do more of this. Thank you, coaches. Come on, let's get out and network, and let's get to it. Let's create those relationships. All right, any questions, posted in this video down below, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. And I'll make sure I put Cynthia's information there as well, so that you can also connect with her. All right, thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now. Let me stop pasting.